Okay, we're live. Are you having headphone problems?
Not headphone problems, brain problems.
Ah, okay.
You want to talk about the release manager? We brought this up in steering. Oh, there's Kevin. He said he was going to follow up on it. I guess he probably hasn't followed up on it between steering and now. So, given that was no minutes ago.
So,
go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to mention this, Shweta. So we talked a little bit about that we'd like to put kind of a better program in place here where we're lining up release managers more ahead of time than one release. And some members of steering were suggesting we follow up with folks from Kubernetes who have a pretty good system in place for kind of having a pipeline of release managers, doing shadows, managing the entire process, thanking people, promoting their efforts, that kind of stuff.
Swag.
And swag, yeah, giving them gifts or bribes, depending on how you look at it. So I think April was going to reach out to you with someone from the Kubernetes community that could give some advice and suggestions to help us arrange that.
that will be great. Or I'll connect with April. That's fine too. Okay.
Yeah. April.
Heads up, it will be great if we can like get this urgently, because I will be out of country for 2 weeks exactly when the release is happening. So it's more so important that we need to have a release manager as soon as possible for this release.
Okay, so Kevin, hurry up.
I'm here. Yes, sorry, I just had to find
So
the
I
right
think
tab to unmute. Yeah, I'll definitely chase that up again. Apologies for taking so long to do this.
No
Yeah,
worries.
no worries. Thanks, Kevin. I just want to say I did ping Aris and Zhonghu. Aris mentioned somebody in their company might be interested, so I just gave her another ping.
Thank you, Lynn.
Okay. All right, we should keep going. Let's see. So we are going to do the. Okay.
It is in the agenda, Louis, if you go a little bit down.
Okay, I was looking at the wrong part. Never mind. Okay.
Yeah.
Environment yearly roadmap. Should I stop presenting?
Actually, if you can click on that extensions and telemetry down below, it's the same sheet.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. So I divided the groups into a couple of actually 3 major areas, as well as some other smaller items. So first up, the major theme for the coming year or actually this year, for major features will be revision-based upgrades. I think there's a lot of work still to be done around this area. So a lot of it is actually just in the realm of increased testing and stability and usability. So we have a number of items to cover those things. So there's enhanced test coverage, as well as the extension of number of minor versions that we're compatible with for upgrades, and that's a joint item with test and release. Also, there's a couple of features actually. One of them is here, but there's some other UX improvements that we have planned. But label stability is a major one that users have asked for, and that's a feature that's well on the way. At least it's in terms of development, it's pretty well along. Still, there's some additional work around documentation and just making sure that it's solid enough to release and put into wide use. Also, there's some enhanced tooling work just to give users better visibility into what's going on during a revision-based upgrade. And that's something that I'll be working on with the help of the UX team. So that's revision-based upgrade. That's probably going to be our biggest feature for the year. Next up, there's a bunch of features that are going to be promoted. So external Istio, we came close to getting it to beta. We're going to try again. VMs, it's at beta. I think in terms of feature completeness, it's pretty good, but there's quite a lot of work to be done with usability and debuggability and so on. But that's a major area for Istio, so we do want to put significant effort behind it to get it to stable by the end of the year. Operator, so that's been in beta for quite some time, and it's probably time to try to get it to stable, which we'll try to do in the next release, I guess. Also, Multicluster has been around for quite some time, and it's in beta. It's been in beta for an awfully long time, so it's time to try to get it to stable as well. And finally, we've had some soak with Helm v3. It's been in alpha for a while, and we know that there's quite a lot of user demand in seeing this installation and upgrade method being in a fully supported and fully endorsed state. So that's also something that we're going to target for beta in Q2.
Quick question here, Martin. Sorry, we can do the questions in the end too if you would like to continue with your.
No, actually, feel free to interrupt. Yeah, that's fine.
So for revision-based upgrades, you said enhancements around tooling and usability. So currently, one of the major challenges I see with revision-based upgrades is every namespace has to be tagged with a specific revision, which means whenever you are installing a new canary or installing a new version, you end up touching all your namespaces, and that's a lot of churn
Right.
from the operations team. Is that being resolved as part of this effort?
Yes, that's label stability, exactly.
Okay, got it.
Yeah,
that's great.
Which is, by the way, it's already kind of possible. It's just not documented, not tested. So it's most of the elements are in place.
Right.
Like everything except you can call it experimental for now and alpha, beta, and yeah.
Yeah. So actually, the common theme in this roadmap and 110, as you'll see, is that quite a few of these features have significant development cycles already behind them and are in a internally functioning state, but more work is required to get them in a usable state for casual users to be able to use easily.
Yeah, that's go ahead, Costa.
No, I was going to say, except the Kubernetes MCS, almost everything else has at least experimental support. So it's just about promoting features. Almost, I don't think there is anything new on the list.
So I have a couple of questions about Helm. So one, and maybe I've missed the artifact, but how do we expect Helm to interact with revision-based upgrade? And the second part, and they're probably related questions, is we're obviously wanting to build tooling to help users evaluate the state of their cluster prior to an upgrade, right? If there are API usages or other things that they've done, customizations, etc., that might put them at risk from breakage when they perform an upgrade. And so how does Helm interact with that?
Yeah, those are both great questions. So I think I don't know. Do you want to take it, Costin?
Yeah, I can take the Helm one at least. So Helm supports revision-based upgrade perfectly. I mean, it's has full parity with IsoCuddle and any other install mechanism. You pass a parameter revision and then it works as intended. For label stability, there are some additional steps that will probably be performed with IsoCuddle to trigger the rollout and kind of switching from one to traffic shift basically. Now, pre-checks are usually the IsoCuddle analyze and similar tools that need to be done manually by user ahead of time. It's not something that Helm will take care of or care about because so the whole automation about it's safe to switch to the new revision, what do I need to change and so forth, that's outside of the scope for Helm itself.
So Helm has no facilities or standardized processes for that type of thing?
No, but Helm is just a way to say, hey, I have this revision that I install and I'm 100% sure that it's not going to attach anything else in the cluster. Now, when you want to shift for the new revisions, that's when different tooling came into place, but Helm is out of the picture at that point.
Okay.
So I think, I mean, I've heard different stories about revision-based upgrade, and it may well be that it's just a documentation task. In any case, I think that's definitely one of the things that we need to address before promoting it to beta. So
yeah, today it is a documentation task. I mean, you just need to know what the changes to make to kind of shift the revisions. But right. We want to have some sort of rollout process where you 10% new revision and kind of control it more precisely.
Right, because I mean, tying in the validation into IsoCuddle install, IsoCuddle upgrade, or operator behavior, right, is something that we can make declarative and not a documentation task. So if there's a way that we can achieve a similar effect with Helm, right, it would at least be worthwhile exploring.
I think it's. I look into it. It's difficult and it's kind of breaking the layers. I mean, it's better to use Helm for what's intended and make sure that any tools that are used by IsoCuddle install and so forth are kind of decoupled and you can.
So there's probably only so far we can take Helm towards resembling IsoCuddle because we don't have as much control over it. And I think the things we can do are not necessarily things that we want to maintain long term, like adding code into hooks and things like that to achieve more IsoCuddle-like behavior. We can, for example, enhance the schema by schematizing some of the protos that we have in a format that Helm understands. So that would certainly be a step forward. But I think there's probably always going to be some gap to what Helm can do that are not realizable to bring it to full parity with IsoCuddle and operator.
Would it be helpful to introduce like a IsoCuddle pre-check or pre-upgrade check to let users do something in addition to Helm?
That's the whole idea, and that also coupled with external IsoCuddle, because for external IsoCuddle users have even less controls than what they have for Helm. Yeah.
So whatever we can't do in Helm, I think it makes sense to add to IsoCuddle. Probably at some point once you start involving IsoCuddle, it takes away from some of the benefits of using purely Helm. So as far as possible, I think we should try to push those type of features into Helm itself. But where it stops to make sense, I guess we can have a fallback plan of having IsoCuddle support for it.
Yeah, I mean, any complex validation, right, or recommendations about pre-work people might need to do before performing an upgrade, right? That's a lot of work, and so we can probably only afford to put that in IsoCuddle in one place. I don't think we can afford to implement that many times. I think we've found that very hard in the past. So.
Yeah, that makes total sense to me. I would want to add. I would like to see like the progression for revision-based upgrades. Because if I'm looking at the doc now, like multiple revision with gateway is experimental, and I noticed that future promotion you had for different feature, but not with revision-based upgrade? Especially this is the one we are promoting everybody to move to.
Yeah, that's a great point, Lynn. Thanks. Yeah, I think we've just taken it for granted that it just works, but we haven't really split it out as a feature, and we should. We should do a full review of all the pieces that make up revision-based upgrade and go through the process.
Gateway in particular, it's intentionally as experimental because we just made, it's another item there, user gateway management separation that is on the roadmap. We just changed the design of how we manage the gateways with revisions.
So do you want to call out gateway as a line item in this sheet then?
It is 62, line 62.
Oh, okay. I'm blind. Yeah, okay.
Oh yeah, see it now. We didn't connect the dots with that to the upgrade.
Yeah, in general, the idea is to separate completely the management of the gateway and data plane components from the management of control planes. That has been kind of a goal or design because user may maintain gateways in their namespaces, they may use Kubernetes gateways, external gateways. So we tried to separate the two components.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, let me finish. I know Neeraj has a question too. So I made a comment about external Istio. I saw it's on beta for 2Q. I would have to ask if anybody in the community interested in continue to promote to beta, especially people from the IBM team, because I know it's super important to the IBM team. So I'll have to, Martin will have to figure out the right owner for that.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I think I put you as because you touched it last, but
I know.
certainly, yeah, we can find somebody in the environments to take over it. And I think I had Iris's name previously, so
yeah, so
maybe we can reach out to her.
Unfortunately, yeah, moved to Intel too. I think I said that last week. Yeah. So we have to see if Greg or Ed or maybe Eric have bandwidth.
I'm sure we'll find someone, and it's important enough features that it will get ownership somehow.
Yep.
Yeah. My final question is multi-cluster. I saw you have stable for Q3. My question is, what are the thoughts on the Kubernetes multi-cluster API maturity? Should we be aligning with that maturity before we promote to stable?
I think it's a separate item because it's an optional API. We support multi-cluster Istio way with Istio APIs, and we plan to also support the Kubernetes multi-cluster APIs. It is perfectly fine for the Kubernetes multi-cluster to be alpha or not stable, but our APIs to be stable.
I think we should also be careful about what we consider our multi-cluster APIs here. Like the one I'm thinking of, for example, is control over, local resolution versus multi-cluster resolution, and maybe that one we shouldn't promote to stable because MCS actually replaces that. So it's probably something we should discuss. It's actually a good thing to think about, Lynn. Thanks.
Yeah, because I would like to understand exactly your points, Ivan, is what are we promoting to stable? Certainly like the export and import are probably not ready, but are we promoting the installation and configuration? Yep, exactly.
My take is that what we are promoting is what people are currently using, production and with it's tested. I mean, the features that are tested, we need to identify them and mark them, of course. But the fact that you can have the same service, same namespace across multiple clusters and it's load balanced and everything works, that's kind of the core feature in multi-cluster.
Yeah. So like the question of APIs, I think the API that we've been talking about so far has been like the Istio operator CRD effectively. That's what we're using to configure it during installation. So installation effectively and configuration, initial configuration of multi-cluster is what we're covering.
MCS doesn't cover that, right? So I think that part's separate enough that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree. That part makes sense as long as it's not using environment variable. Go ahead, Neeraj. Sorry.
No,
it's okay.
With that said, I do think we've never explicitly called out cluster local as a feature. So I don't know how we want to handle that, but maybe we should put some thought into that. if we just bundle it together with multi-cluster, or if we start separating out multi-cluster installation and cluster, I guess export across clusters or something as a separate feature.
Yeah, I was just going to say that as far as I know, that setting in MeshConfig is still hidden. I learned yesterday. And I feel like we can't isolate these things and promote piecemeal as beta. The whole multi-cluster experience has to be beta or stable. That should involve being able to scope down services and having some level of visibility, in my opinion. So if whoever is going to work on this, I'm really interested in being part of the. I think there's a progression step in which you meet with people to understand what are the gaps. I would like to be invited to that, because I do think we need to look at it a little more than just you can install and by default you can just have traffic for all the services, multiple clusters.
I'm not sure I agree. I mean, it's true that there are many features and many user requirements, but in reality, the core feature remains that you can have a service split across multiple clusters, and it's load balanced across them according to the networking APIs. On top of that, it may have 100 different features that we may want and customer request and other things, but doesn't change the core feature. I mean, you can filter, you can select, you can put policies, you can do all kind of other things.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to agree with Costin, right? That's kind of been a baseline proposition, right? Obviously, MCS, right, from Kubernetes is changing things, and so we have to maybe have some refinement of our definition, right? What DNS names actually mean. And right, whether we want, right, we treated multi-cluster as a load balancing problem, right, initially, not as a name partitioning problem. MCS treated it as a name partitioning problem, right? So now, do we consider that the existence of MCS sufficient for us to change our approach or not? Costin's right. Historically, our approach was a load balancing problem.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what Lynn's pointing out here, is we should probably resolve that part before we make it stable.
Exactly.
That's fine, but we should discuss that.
Why would we? Because we can say that load balancing across clusters is a stable feature, and that's a core feature that we supported for a long time. And
so we might change. We might change the default behavior, and we should discuss whether we want to do that. Is the default that cluster.local names are load balanced across cluster, or do you have to switch to using MCS to do discussions about it? I think let's not resolve it here. I think the point is we need to have that discussion.
Yes.
It's not. We don't consider that there is consensus there yet. So.
Okay.
Good point.
And about install also, there is no consensus, because for external Istio, again, it's any API related to install, it's not going to affect external Istio, which is managed by external party. So also I don't think it should be considered as part of the API.
I mean, I think if you follow the process for promotion, I think we will be involved. So I'm happy as long as the process.
Okay, so next major item for environments is VMs. There's a bunch of things that need doing. The main ones are probably in the realm of usability, debuggability, and so on. So this is an area that we haven't really fully fleshed out, but I think this is just partly a placeholder that we do want to continue investing effort in this area. And we will as the releases go forward, we'll find more concrete items to add. I think generally right now it's more of a making what's already there, which is pretty functional, more usable to casual users, and just making it more amenable to production environments as far as debuggability and just understanding where logs come from and so on. So that is the main work area for VMs is going to be around that. We've already talked about the user gateway separation. Next up is eventing. So this is an area that do you want to talk about that, Kostin, real quick?
It's a proposal we discussed some time ago, and it's about providing integration with some message bus system, either Kubernetes events or other pub subs, to allow users to have control over what's happening inside the control plane, to have some information when events happen in the control plane. Nothing, and it helps for decouplability for use cases like Knative or other applications that want to know when a particular change has been propagated, and for automation tools and other things.
Yep. Okay. And
the master stability.
Yes, master stability, and unlike the slide stability, we do want it to be actually stable.
Yeah, and for that also, it's a kind of from the previous roadmap. We already have automated builds from master. We want to make sure that we have enough testing of the master builds, interoperability with the stable release to catch as early as possible.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt. What roadmap do I need to present?
You're on the right roadmap, just a different tab. The next tab.
Next up.
Thank you.
Yep.
2021 and
and just go down a bit.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank
you.
Master stability.
Right. Yeah. So I think this is something that Kostin has already done quite a lot of work, and it may be a stretch goal. I think it's more of an aspirational goal. Any work that we do towards this, I think, will be beneficial anyway, even if we can't have daily releases that are perfect of master. I think work towards this is valuable.
Yeah, to clarify, we did, not me, but other people did some work around this, but using internal tools at Google. So making it in open source will take additional effort.
I'm confused. Is this part of TNR or is it part of environment?
It's required for upgrades. So to make sure that upgrades are safe, we need to make sure that in master we do not have regressions in upgrade. It can be TNR. I don't really care what it is, but it kind of has to happen for the purpose of safe upgrades.
Yeah, I think it could be a joint item actually with TNR, with TNR perhaps leading it if they have the energy and bandwidth to do it. So yeah, I'll reach out to them and see if there's any takers to put in some cycles towards it.
Or maybe some upgrade groups. There are other working groups that I wanted to make sure this is covered here.
Yeah, we definitely have more of a upgrade perspective in environments, but there's definitely other things that are around this that need some work. Okay, so we talked about MCS, and last up, we do want to we're in a continual never-ending quest to clean up MeshConfig, and that continues for 2021. I think that there are some difficulties and challenges involved in the fact that MeshConfig has been around an awfully long time, and we don't want to take it away from users that are very comfortable with it. So that's probably the main challenge. On the other hand, it is a bit of a quagmire. So we've discussed some ideas about how we could scope down just what MeshConfig covers and perhaps tackle the problem that way, just to not expose all users to the entire menu of options from MeshConfig. So we might be able to take that approach to work around the difficulty involved with redoing the API. Go ahead.
Yeah, I would add that one of the biggest challenges that we confused users a lot about MeshConfig stability. MeshConfig is an alpha API, and almost everything inside MeshConfig is not something that is considered to be stable or a stable feature. And always the plan was to have beta APIs that are supported and alpha APIs that are kind of subject to change from release, no guarantees made, but user expectations are different. So that really is the main challenge in cleaning up MeshConfig.
All right. Any questions about the last few items? All right, thank you.
Okay, so this one should be easy. Oliver has been participating in the product security working group already. The group approved him as co-lead to backfill Francois Pesch, and we just need TOC to sign off on that.
Sounds
So,
good.
yes,
Is Francois leading
good
the
to me.
project or?
Unclear, but he doesn't have time to be a co-lead at least.
Got you.
Okay, ship it.
Ship it.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay, Brian.
Yeah, so I have a couple of things here. The first one here is right now for the release management stuff, we say tag, say Jasmine when a release is ready to post it on Twitter. Jasmine's been the point of contact. We don't actually have a group, and the list changes often enough that it can be hard to figure out how to get things posted. So my proposal is we create a group on GitHub that you can just tag and say, hey, the release is going out. Please post this. And whoever's actually the TOC or the Twitter admin can actually post it.
Right. So I think it's good to have a redundancy. How do we avoid having multiple tweets for the same release?
I mean, you can check before you tweet, right? You can check what is your. Okay, well, chances are pretty low. I mean, we have the same problem in the past. It's not like people jump on so fast in the past.
Okay.
We could have
Deleting is easy.
We could have those people be in a private Slack channel or something, and then
yeah, that works too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
I have a different suggestion.
Slack has locking mechanism. No.
We need a token ring. We pass around the token.
Right.
You could always, hey, you're tagged on this. You performed it. You post a comment saying, hey, I did it. It's probably just about as reliable as Slack.
Yeah.
You are overestimating the amount of technical know-how the steering committee has. But I was going to say, let's just tag at steering committee, and that's the list you want. We don't have to create another thing in here.
Okay, is it a steering committee admins for Twitter?
I think so, as far as I know. I mean, if not,
we should make them. Yeah, we should solve that.
Yeah. So that's just
okay. Yeah,
we already have a steering Slack channel, so problem solved.
Okay, so we want to ask Jasmine to make the steering committee the owner, give them the privileges, permissions to do this.
So I think currently, Josh, correct, Jasmine and Lynn has it, but I guess Lynn, because you changed the company last time, what I heard was that you may not be able to post it. So currently the only two people who can post from Istio is Craig and Jasmine.
Jasmine's not on steering.
Wait, what was that, Sven?
Oh, I was saying Jasmine's not on steering anymore either anyway, so yeah.
I didn't know that changed. Okay, she probably still has the permission.
Yeah, I think Craig is definitely the admin that can help out.
Let's have Craig do this.
Damn.
Craig is the best.
Craig is a different time zone, Swain. So that was the issue we were facing last
No,
time.
no,
he gave all the other people the permission.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I was just gonna say I can take it to steering and solve it.
Yeah, there are 12 people on steering. They can help you, Shweta.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Do we have any nautical ones?
Okay. Ship it. Are we done with that one? What do you think?
Yeah.
Actually, one thing. If I was doing this, I wouldn't know how to contact steering.
I have no idea.
What's the there's a Google group that we email, or we hit them on Slack. What do you recommend? Steering people are cross-listed.
I just start a random Slack, but only for that time period. I don't know if we need a permanent one.
No, but okay, but that's because you're reaching out to. So what do we recommend everyone else? Like, how should they send this request to the steering committee? And I think we should ask people who are on the steering committee to come up with their preference. And don't speak all at once, please.
I would say the Google group, the mailing list, is probably the best, rather than Slack.
Okay, and then what is the name of that Google group?
I'll find it 1 second.
Or how about you just, somebody like Niraj or Kevin just paste it in there and we can move on.
Will do.
Thank you. Okay, Brian.
Yeah, the next one here is, at least in test and release, we're seeing the number of attendees to the workgroup drop. We're also looking through the workgroups list. There is currently every workgroup except for security is missing leads. And we've got release manager issues and other issues. Kubernetes has a Twitter that they use for communicating with contributors, as well as a mailing list. I don't know if we as Istio need some way to communicate with our contributors outside of the work groups if they're not attending the calls. But perhaps we can get more attention that way.
I wonder if this is going to reopen the great discussion about Google Groups versus Discuss.
Yeah, I kind of feel like the one pushing us not to have mailing lists was Martin, and he's long gone. So we should have a contributors mailing list and use it. I have not found Discuss as a useful replacement just because of the way it sends mail. You kind of can't filter. Again, it just doesn't work out for me. So I'd rather have a mailing list, but that's
mine too. Other can the TOC decide, or is it a steering committee thing?
I would bring it up into steering again, just because I don't have the history here why this was done, other than maybe one person's preference.
It was kind of done as an experiment, really. It was like, hey, let's try this thing and see if it's good enough. We never really revisited. But yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Who wants to bring it up in steering?
I can add it.
All right, Niraj.
Thank you. Okay.
One less thing to do.
In the meantime, do we want to just send the announcement to Discuss, use the current thing, with all of its flaws? Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. Who's got Brian, do you have the ability, the privileges, I mean, to send an announcement to Discuss, or does somebody else have to do that?
Yeah, I can do that.
Great, thank you. Wonderful. Okay.
Hey, Josh, before we go to the last one, sorry, Brian. So Mitch will not be available next week. Can we review user experience yearly roadmap for user experience?
Why don't we do that after Brian's thing?
Okay. Okay.
So the last one here has been sitting on the agenda for a little while. There was a request, a couple of different requests here. There was a request to actually move everything to be tracked in the same place. There was some questions on permissions and stuff before. And then there was a question about keeping features on track to be promoted, and questions about the process for retirement of features. And this kind of pulls everything together. Just hoping for a TOC review here.
Okay, I see what you're doing. This needs time. I will review it, and actually, I think really everyone should on the TOC. All right, I'll tag everyone. Thank you, Brian.
Yeah.
Sorry, this is on the last topic. I kind of fell asleep, but the GitHub has a new Discuss feature.
Okay.
Should we use that? Kubernetes and I think Knative I saw we're experimenting with it a little bit.
Oh shoot. Sorry to clobber you. Lynn, I don't know your new address. If you could just note that a review here is needed. Okay.
No problem.
So,
I got it.
So discuss. How does that work, John? Should we try it for the first time with this?
I just sent a link to Kubernetes one. It's basically just like it's like Discuss kind of. It's just like a messaging board, but it's on GitHub. So
I can't click on that link because it's on a different device. If you want to send it to me over GChat, I can present it here. You know what? I would say for this one, a pull, just commenting the pull request is fine. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think that's fine.
I do have a link here. Thanks, John. Huh. Well, we could try it.
Does this support email subscribe? Because that was the key thing people were missing.
I honestly I've never actually used it. I've just seen it, but I would imagine it does because you already get emails for, all your GitHub comments. Whether you filter those out or ignore them all is another question. But
I mean, it's worth trying because so we have everything in one place.
Okay. Does anybody want to set up the discuss feature for the Istio repo and start a discussion on this? If not,
I think one thing too is this intended for contributors or for users?
What I was talking about is intended for contributors.
Because users are not in GitHub. This would only work for contributors, right, John?
Our users are in GitHub for sure. They file issues all the time, right?
They may not be, but they may not be a member of our Istio community because that requires one PR.
No, but these are public.
Oh, okay. Oh, so they can subscribe at any time too. Okay.
Yeah. I got the impression like Kubernetes/Kubernetes, their main repo, they don't have discussions enabled. They have it on their testing repo. So I think theirs is intended to be contributor oriented.
Niraj, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to say, how many people are actually using this feature from GitHub? Because most of the folks on this call didn't know about it. So are we going to actually solve any problem?
It just got out of beta like a month ago or so.
I'm a little, I'm worried that we're, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, we're just moving the problem, right? We're moving it from Discuss, which was not used by a lot, to this, which might not be used by a lot. So we need a medium which actually works.
Also, just in the interest of time, I do want to get to the UX working group roadmap because we're not going to be able to review it with Mitch's vacation plans. So maybe for this one, we just stick to the reviewing comments on the PR, and if somebody wants to champion use of Discuss in the future, we're open to that. Okay. Okay.
Well, those are two separate topics, Josh. Aren't they?
Aren't they?
Yeah.
The discuss feature thing is in the previous topic. It's the communication medium.
Okay.
The PR is about managing feature lifecycle.
Right, but somebody proposed using Discuss.
John was late to the party.
Okay.
Because we were so exciting that he fell asleep.
I missed that. I could use more sleep. Speaking of sleep.
I'm literally falling asleep here, guys.
Okay. Sorry. All right, let's get into the UX. Mitch, are you with us?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah. There you go, usability. So did I screw up by context switching us away from the usability roadmap review?
This is the telemetries and extensions section. If you want to keep going down, I know it looks like user experience.
There we go. Thank you. Usability. Sorry.
So this is our 2021 roadmap for user experience. First of all, we'd like to get analyzers moved towards beta, both in the CLI and in the Istio CRD status field. This means that users can rely on the output being correct and helpful to them. And so Jason Wang has volunteered to help move that towards beta. We consider that a P0 for this year.
Cool.
We also want to not be the only writers of analyzers. We really feel like other working groups understand the rules of Istio much better than we do. We're not subject matter experts here. And so we're going to be holding some workshops on analyzer writing and making sure that our documentation is up to date and accessible for our users. And sort of, we're even kind of considering maybe like a hackathon model of encouraging people to show up and contribute analyzers to help our users.
Is it possible to write, with the same code, run that both in an analyzer and in Istio validation, in Istio-D?
There's a subtle difference between validation and analyzers that is historical in nature, and that is that analyzers look to things that are usually across multiple objects, or that may be wrong or are probably wrong. Whereas validation is more of a binary decision. It's absolutely wrong and cannot evaluate multiple objects because of eventual consistency. I was working with John Howard on there is the ability now for validation to produce warnings. And I think John was working on making sure that our analyzers produce warnings in validation as well. But that's not part of the UX roadmap necessarily.
Okay.
Yeah, so what I do actually think is important is there are a lot of analyzers that do work on single resources, and those don't get run in the validating webhook. So we have warnings that are emitted, but they're only the warnings that are written in the validation logic. And then we have like the same type of things going on in the analyzers, but those don't show up in the webhooks. So we kind of have this split brain that would be something that would be great to resolve.
Yeah, we should
like if we're going to start pushing out more analyzers, it'd be good to make sure like the analyzer core functionality is, because if we get 15 analyzers, then we have to go migrate them over to something else. That kind of sucks.
Yeah, we should look through the catalog and make sure that all of the analyzers that exist should be analyzers. And so I would assume that that's part of the march towards beta. If we have a decision that could be done at validation time and could actually block the CR, that's a much better user experience than telling them after the fact.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
All right, next up, in 2020, we came up with the Istio roles and personas document that we presented here a few months ago. We've seen it be helpful for a few design processes across the project, but it still doesn't have what I would call consensus, where people are thinking in terms of these roles in their designs frequently. So this is sort of an advocacy line item to help to either modify the roles in a way to make them more helpful, or to help other user groups or working groups adopt these roles for their design docs and help them think through the implications of which users are going to be doing which actions with their tools. Ed, did you want to take the next one since your name's on it? Sorry, we didn't talk about who was talking this morning.
Sure. Some of the commands that talk to the control plane are rapidly having the door closed on them by the external Istio-D work. So we're going to make it much more clear which commands are which, in perhaps even separate it out so that there'll be some commands that only cloud providers can run.
Cool.
And that's effectively applying those roles and personas to our own tooling. So that should give us some good dog fooding on that document.
How about we hear from TBD?
Yep. I'll let them fill you in. Just let me know when you find them.
Okay.
Yeah, so we are looking for more involvement in the user experience working group. There's a lot we'd like to accomplish in 2021, and we don't feel like we're currently staffed to meet those goals.
Yeah, interesting.
This item is around supporting a variety of environments that Istio operates in, where the control plane is external to the application cluster. Today, our troubleshooting tools have mixed to no functionality in those environments because they rely on administrative access to the control plane. So we need to move away from that. We also are going to be rethinking some of our troubleshooting operations and retooling it more around the user as we go about doing this. Our debug tools today, we've mentioned this before, they're very much oriented towards root causes. If you know the root cause of your problem, then run this tool and you'll be able to validate that it's the root cause. That's not a user-centric workflow, and so we'd like to provide something that's better for them there. We have more UX research. One of the things we did not plan on doing in 2020, but turned out to be a big hit, was the UX research into upgrade pain. And we have a little bit more upgrade research to do this upcoming month to help inform end-of-life decisions for the 1.8 release, I think. But we also would like to move the research forward in the latter half of the year and start seeing how we're doing at the day 2 operations, which is what we've sort of themed the whole project's year around. And I believe this TBD is likely to be fulfilled by Google. It sounds like we have a UX researcher who will be putting some time towards this effort. So that's great.
Cool.
Hey, Mitch, can TOC be involved with the questions, or at least can we look at those questions before they go out?
Yes. I should have the questions for the second round of upgrade research. Really, I need to have them done next week. I don't want to have them done next week. And I won't be able to present them next week, but I can at least have them available for your review by then.
Mitch, take your vacation. Yeah.
Thanks. Let's see. Ed, I'll take this one if you want to take the last one there. The feature statuses, variables, and annotations is work that Jason, Nathan, and Brian and myself have been working on. This is the ability for users to understand the maturity of the various levers they're pulling on Istio. And I'm using the word levers, which we've not defined very particularly because we've struggled really with whether we're operating on APIs or on features and what exactly the meaning of those terms are. But the bottom line is the user story should be, I understand the stability level I can expect out of the way I'm using Istio.
Cool.
So we're continuing to move towards that. It's going to stay experimental for some time, but I think if you scroll to the right, I believe we said we'd like to have it at alpha level before the end of the year. Honestly, beta level, yeah.
All right.
It's a really valuable feature. We don't want to break things or move too quickly, but at the same time, telling our users the way they understand what features are alpha is an alpha level feature is probably not the best messaging.
What is the user experience, and is it like you try to use an alpha feature and it says no, you can't unless you pass in this override flag saying that you understand, or like how do you do that?
Blocking is a stretch goal, but because of the various ways that you can configure Istio, I think it's going to be pretty difficult to actually block the use of features. Instead, it will be a command that you can run either against a live cluster or against a GitOps repository, and it will tell you the maturity level of various features. Now, that command should be able to fail. Like you could say fail on alpha. And then if you're using GitOps to control Istio, you try to activate an alpha feature and your pull request will fail. So it's something, it's not perfect, but I really do think that actually failing in the control plane itself when we activate an alpha feature, it opens up a can of worms in terms of how the user know that we're not acting on their config, etc.
I mean, the only issue is just that check, the feature status check, is opt-in, not opt-out. It'd be nice if it was opt-out. Yeah. Okay. Niraj, were you going to say something? Yeah.
Yeah, I had a quick question here. So this is essentially tooling, right? So a tooling, as long as it doesn't give false positives, is there a way to accelerate it and make it more mature? What I'm trying to get to this is like the whole point of making upgrades safer. This tooling is really essential. Telling people to know that you are using experimental features or alpha features so you can take care of those things when you upgrade. So can something be done here, like so that if we reduce the set, if we know that there are no false positives, does it have to go through this whole progression?
Yeah, Mitch, can you do this on your vacation?
Yeah, again, you
so
go on your vacation.
There's two dimensions to the time frame that we've got here. One is staffing, and so if Aspen Mesh wants to accelerate this with some staffing, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
The other dimension, though, is around what we're communicating to the users. We have a framework for this in place today. However, what it tells users is that everything they've ever done is alpha. Their use of revisions is alpha. Their use of, it's not a useful signal to the users today. So we also need the features themselves to stabilize, because I don't think we would be doing the user a service by throwing out, hundreds or even thousands of warnings on a default installation today.
I see. That's good. I might have someone to help you on this actually. So give me some time, because he's rather junior, but he might be able to, get help from you guys to figure this out.
That would be great. We love working with F5ers.
All right.
So the last item is measurement of what benefit we're getting from IsTioCuddle. We have no idea what analyzers are reporting errors that are helping people. We have no idea what commands IsTioCuddle users are actually using. So we would love if there was some kind of way that we could get statistics about which analyzers are reporting errors, which commands people are using. It would have to be opt-in, and there would have to be something to catch it. We've made that P2 because of all the difficulty putting that infrastructure in, but it sure would be very great at focusing on what we work on next year.
Yeah, I think P2s are basically next time we plan, we think about them.
We really want this, but of course it's how. It could be. We could just list how many times users visit the pages that explain the annotation messages, but it would be from the server. But it'd be much nicer to have something better than that.
To be very clear, the work here is not mostly technical in nature. The majority of the work is ensuring that we are respecting our users' privacy, since this data will, by definition, be open data to the public, and then getting the steering committee to sign off on whatever that particular privacy and data collection plan is.
Cool, nice roadmap. Anything else you want to add?
Thanks for sticking around, everyone.
Yeah, no, thank you. All right, see you guys. Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.